Hello, everybody, and welcome to one of my next, I have no idea what number it is, of my speed podcasting. And today I have an incredible woman here with me. I can't remember exactly how we crossed paths, but we were just talking about how that we stumbled across. We have this mutual passion for this topic that we're going to talk about today. But let's announce this incredible woman, Amy Armstrong. I am so excited to have you here today and to talk about this journey.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me, because I feel like we've really got this same message around what we're going to talk about today. And I still feel like, we're battling that kind of conventional thoughts around this topic of iron and copper and metabolism and fatigue and all these really common problems that so many women suffer in our society. So the more we can just kind of get the word out that there is, another way of thinking about these things, and it takes a hell of a lot of unlearning and relearning to sort of change your mindset around what the real causes are of things like our fatigue. So I'm stoked to be talking about it to someone like-minded. So thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And you're absolutely right. Like I have so many debates still, like just when I feel like I'm ready to move on to a new topic, which I'm kind of starting to dabble in, as you would have seen on my socials, but I'm always brought back to iron metabolism, iron dysfunction, like all the things. And I'm like, nah, I'm not finished with this topic yet, because I myself have been one of those women. I've been there. I've been 2 years on iron supplements. So if you can all guess, that's what we're talking about today, guys, iron. And the main topic really is we're here to share with you why you are most likely not deficient in iron. And it is most likely other nutrients which are really required to mobilize that iron. And if you're not too sure on that metabolism part, you can go check out any of my posts, and I'm sure Amy has a crap load of them as well on her side. So go have a read of those, because really we're going to be talking today more about like our journeys and our experience and what we've done and how we've helped ourselves and lots of other people as well. So I guess, Amy, do you want to just start off and sharing just a little bit about your journey and really how you discovered this and what it's really brought to life in you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So this journey sort of started for me maybe, actually not quite sure, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, even perhaps. Just to give a bit of context, I guess we were dealing with at the time a really extremely and chronically ill child, and all the stress that goes along with that as a parent. We were, going down the conventional route of trying to find out what we could do to help her, and we were really not having any success whatsoever, bar, conventional pharmaceutical medicines, which, I could see even then would be problematic long term, and in terms of, the symptoms that she was having for those. So we really felt that we needed to, cast our net a little bit wider. I'd always had an interest in health and wellness and fitness and all of those areas. So I guess we started to embark down that really natural healing kind of route, and still for many years didn't have much success, or a little bit here and a little bit there. Things would improve and then get worse. And it was a real journey centered around her and healing her. And I think at some point, we made the decision that we were going to have to do this ourselves. We were going to have to finance ourselves. We were done investing everything into doctors and practitioners, and done waiting for someone to fix her. And that's what we were relying on. And that's when it came back to that, starting to think about what we could do for ourselves. So flash forward, I guess, years of pretty heavy stress on myself as a mum, and my health also started to decline. So that's where, I really started to feel so tired I couldn't get out of bed in the morning, major anxiety, panic attacks, every day, anxiety from the minute that I woke up. to the minute that I went to sleep. And that bone crushing fatigue that you can only explain to somebody who's had it, you know, that it's just, you are tired to your bones and nothing will shift it. And it's a really debilitating place to be. So, of course, off I trotted to my local GP to, you know, find out why I was so tired. And this is a really typical story. And as a practitioner now, I hear this story every single day from women who predominantly come to see me because, you know, because they're tired beyond what is considered normal. So I went off to the GP, and first thing they do when you go off to the GP, you probably can guess, is they take your iron, take your bloods and check your iron. Although when they're checking your iron, whether we have time to go into the intricacies of this today, I don't know, but when they check your iron, they're predominantly going to check your ferritin. And based on that ferritin reading, or as Morley Robbins likes to call it, eritin, because it is the most erroneous marker and really doesn't have meaning when taken alone from other markers anyway. So took my ferritin, and it was, you know, I think it was maybe like 2 or something ridiculous like that. So, you know, the alarm bells were going off for the GP, and they suggested that I start having iron injections straight away, which I did. At some point in there, though, I realised, you know, I got to thinking, hang on, they're injecting me with a heavy metal. It didn't sit right. Something innately within me was going, this just doesn't make sense to me. And I didn't have the knowledge then about iron, and I didn't have the knowledge that once iron was in you, it's not coming out of you. You know, I didn't have any of that knowledge, but I just innately knew that this, you know, this wasn't natural and it wasn't normal. And I would have my injection and I would feel good for a couple of days and then crash, come down again. So, you know, this went on for longer than I care to admit, before I really started to look into what was the real cause of my iron issues. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's where I first came across magnesium in my little search. And this is sort of coincides with my daughter's journey as well. So we are really, you know, down the rabbit holes by now, starting to really delve into, okay, let's, you know, there was always another layer. You know, first it was hormones, and, you know, there was always, okay, but what causes that issue? Okay, but what causes that issue? So we just kept going, you know, layer down deeper and deeper, and we came at minerals. Minerals were the foundation. And I thought, okay, there's something to this. This must be the place that we begin our healing journey then. So got onto a bit about magnesium, and that really sparked my interest. And, you know, I started to investigate there, and somebody along that journey gave me Morley Robbins' name.
Yeah.
So at that stage, yes, the book, the Bible.
The book.
At that stage, Morley's root cause protocol wasn't really in full swing. It was very early days, but I began reading about iron, copper dysregulation, and it just landed. It just landed, and it brought in everything that I'd learnt so far. So I don't view that journey as a waste. I don't view that tens of thousands of dollars that we spent trying to heal as a waste, because it all set me up for that moment. And I would never have, you know, I would never have got that far down into the weeds if it wasn't for all those other moments leading to it. So I am grateful for our journey. So yeah, started to investigate copper iron dysregulation, and started to realise that, you know, iron is one part of that dysregulation, and then copper is the other part, and you can't look at one without the other. So for the sakes of time, because I could waffle all day, I'll just flash forward a bit. I started the root cause protocol for myself before I started it for my daughter, because I just wanted to have a play with it first. Within about 6 weeks, I was out of bed. And this was basically only taking an adrenal cocktail and, some minerals and a few dietary changes. And it was all pretty much, uphill there for my energy. So I guess we can get more into the whys and the hows, but, ultimately flash forward to now. And if we're talking about energy, I have endless energy. I don't hit the wall at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and start looking for a sugar fix like I once did. And I don't think about my energy. And you don't have an issue with energy if you're not thinking about your energy. Or flip it, you've got a problem with your energy if you're always thinking about your energy, right? If you're always thinking about how tired you are, clearly it's an issue for you. You shouldn't be thinking about it. You just should have the energy to get through your day. So that's where I am now, and it's a great place to be. And it's, at my mid-40s, I certainly feel better than what I did in my teens, what I did in my 20s, and definitely what I did in my 30s. So, what did you want to? Where do you want to go with the copper with the iron thing? How far down do you want to go? Are we just sparking people's interest here, or
I found something really incredible for it. I would love to explore it with you, and that is like the way that like a doctor would read a blood test, and like I've done a bit of reading into like how ferritin's not a really great like marker for iron level, really for any kind of like metabolic health internally. So I'd love to touch on that a little bit more and really hear if you're hearing a lot of noise, everybody, you to Amy, it's my family. My little one.
Working from home, hey?
I love it. I muted myself before. I don't know if you noticed because there was a bit of noise and I thought, I don't want it to interfere. But anyways, back to, I would love for you to touch on that. So like really explain your experience with like, and your knowledge of like how a blood test is read, how it should be read, or really what you should be looking for. And obviously that's going to intertwine with copper as well. So yeah, please.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear.
Yeah, sure. So I guess the highlights to know around ferritin is that, well, first of all, I'll back up and say, one of the most surprising things for me to learn was that iron, once we ingest iron, it is in us to stay. We don't have a way of excreting iron. So instantly that should be ringing some alarm bells for people who are consistently, whether it's by supplementation, whether it's by iron-enriched foods, taking that iron in. So the only real way for us to get rid of that iron is to bleed. That's the only way for it to come out. I mean, there's a little bit of sloughing off in our gut and things like that, but not significant. So that should tell us something about how much iron we need. So if we're not getting rid of that iron, if that iron's staying within us, what's it doing and where is it and where should it be? So it should be recycling, it should be moving. So we recycle 24 of the 25 milligrams of daily iron that we need. We recycle within us. And I think that's really important to know. So when it comes to the blood test and ferritin, ferritin is an intracellular protein where our iron is stored. So following the work of Morley Robbins, who followed the work of people like Sir Douglas Kell, who's one of the prominent iron experts in the world, they will tell us that ferritin should be inside the cell. Ferritin does not belong in our blood. So when you have a serum blood test, that is the measurement they're taking of your ferritin is from your blood. It shouldn't be in your blood. It doesn't belong in your blood. The way that it gets into your blood is to dump its load of iron into your cell, which is not a good thing, and then secrete into your serum, into your blood. And that's where we take the ferritin reading. So in fact, ferritin, once it's in your serum, is devoid of iron most of the time anyway. So that's really interesting. Why do we then think we can measure our iron from our blood, from our ferritin? So you can see how inaccurate that then becomes to think about measuring your iron that way. And the other thing that's really important to know is that your serum, taking your serum ferritin tells you nothing about the iron in your tissue. So measuring iron in our blood tells us nothing about iron in our tissue. So when I sit down with clients and we want to have a look at what's going on with their iron, we will use a number of markers. So it's really important to know their hemoglobin, which is where about 70% of your iron actually hangs out anyway. So that would be important. And I think once upon a time, that was even where they measured your iron was by your hemoglobin. I'm not sure at what point that changed or why, and it became a ferritin reading that was important in conventional medicine. But anyway, it's important to know your hemoglobin. It's important to know your saturation as well. It's important to know how much iron's in your serum. But equally as important, it's important to know your copper, your serum copper, and your ceruloplasmin. Now, your copper is what regulates your iron. It's what helps your iron move safely around your body. So that copper needs to be inside the protein that's called ceruloplasmin for it to be functional in your body. And then that functional form of copper is what makes your iron functional. So you can see already we've got enough iron within us to begin with. Okay, we don't excrete it. We've got no way of getting rid of it, but we need it to be moving, because if it's not moving in the recycling system, then it's stored in our tissue, okay, where it's causing untold issues. And I mean, if you do follow Morley Robbins' work, you will know that he will say, you know, every disease state begins with that copper iron dysregulation, begins with that iron in the tissue, because essentially what it does inside us is the same as what it does when you leave your bike out in the rain. Okay, it rusts, it oxidizes and it rusts. The same thing's happening on the inside. Okay, so we're essentially rusting. And people are always surprised to hear that, you know, that process is the same. It's different in terms of we call them free radicals, and but they cause the same oxidative grief. If you can't manage your oxygen properly through having functional copper and functional iron, then you are rusting on the inside.
It causes all kinds of issues. I actually have a question for you, which I'm sure like our listeners will most likely be going, but Amy, how? So I know for me, when I used to always be told I was iron deficient and would go to the doctors and they check your bloods, they would never check anything else. It was always like the same test. So like if somebody was like, well, how do I get my copper checked? How do I get my ceruloplasmin checked? Like, what would you suggest them to do? Because I know that there is like a full Monty panel that they can get. So it's a matter of like somebody, let's say, reaching out to a practitioner like yourself and being able to request that. Is that how you would suggest somebody to look at that?
Yeah, good question. So yes, you can do. I can certainly request a panel on your behalf, but you can also do it yourself. So the beauty of this process, and when you start to learn about your minerals and how they work, is it empowers you to take your health power. It's about you being able to explore this without a practitioner. Sure, people like myself are there to give you a hand. Some people need more hand holding than others. And, you know, that's okay. I can support you in that, but you can also do it yourself. So if you were to go to rcp123.org, you could find on there the specific blood panel that we look at to get a good idea of your copper iron regulation in your body. And you can actually go onto a site here in Australia. It's called iMedical, and you can order your own bloods. So you have the power to bypass your GP and order your own bloods, which you can try through your GP, but most of the time you're not going to get that full panel, particularly MAG RBC. They're really hesitant. Actually, they typically won't give it all. They'll give you a MAG serum to take. So, this is do-it-yourself. This is do-it-yourself healing.
That's so great. Thank you for explaining that, because I know with my dealings with people is that they really are kind of in the doorway of that self-empowerment, and we're really it's conditioned in us to not really have that self-empowerment. It's like, we need a doctor, we need this, we need that, which is great. Like, I'm so grateful for our medical system and the professionals out there. We're so very lucky in the time we are. However, I think it's just an incredible, beautiful combination to have that self-empowerment, that desire to actually understand our body and to understand the choices we make, because essentially what we drink, what we eat, what we expose ourselves to, what we think, like, they all play a part. And that it also includes like who we trust and who we listen to. So I really love that. Thank you so much for explaining it. And I think, oh yeah, sorry, keep going.
Go. No, I was just going to say, I think there's only one expert in your body, only one expert that knows about your body, and that is you. That you are the only one who knows how your body, works and what it needs. So, it's it's great to start to explore this with a health practitioner. But essentially it's about realizing that you have the power. It's down to you, and nobody cares more about your health than you do. And once you begin to realize that, and you realize that the power to heal is within you, that's a really powerful thing. And like you say, I think a lot of people sit on the edge of that, and but are still relying on others to fix them. Well, first of all, you don't need fixing. You're not broken, okay? We are not broken. We do not need fixing. Most of us are just really out of balance.
Yeah.
And when you start to think about it that way, I'm not broken, I'm just out of balance, it empowers you to be able to make a difference to that balance. Yeah.
Beautiful. There was another thing that popped up for me before, which I'm so sure a lot of women or even men are going to be wondering. You said before, the only way really to remove iron from our bodies is by bleeding. And I know a lot of women are going to go, well, we bleed every month and I have a heavy period, so I'm getting rid of a lot of iron, so I really might be iron deficient. And that's definitely like a cause, like a doctor will say, you're bleeding, you need to take iron supplements, you have a heavy period. You know where I'm going with this. Yeah. So I'd love for you to elaborate a little bit more on that for our listeners, especially someone who might be still stuck in that cycle of, I have a heavy period, I'm definitely iron deficient. Would you mind touching on that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So first of all, I think it's important to know that while women are menstruating, we have a lot lower chance of, heart disease and other various chronic conditions, that when we stop menstruating, our chances come up to being equal with men's. And we have to ask ourselves, why is that? Well, we're having that monthly blood loss. We're having that monthly dump of toxic unbound iron. So, embrace that. Your period is not there just to give you grief. It's physiologically a really, really important thing for your body as a woman to be able to do. Beyond that, though, yes, a lot of women come with really heavy bleeding. My doctor tells me I'm really low in iron because I have a really, bad monthly loss. Well, first of all, I would be asking you, okay, have you explored why? What's going on in your body for you to have a really dysregulated menstrual cycle like that? What's happening with your hormones, which means what's happening with your minerals, which are the foundation of all your hormones. Because hormones don't run our body, all right? They respond. Okay, they're just giving you clues that there are other things going on at a deeper level. And when we stop short and start to treat our hormones, we're really missing that bigger picture of what's going on for that, for that hormone dysregulation to be occurring. So I guess around the blood loss, something that, as a root cause protocol practitioner, I would recommend is to give blood. And the reason that we give blood is that is our opportunity to get rid of that toxic unbound iron and to stimulate our bodies into recycling the iron that's within our bodies. And, you know, the research really supports that. There's big longitudinal studies from all over the world with, you know, tens of thousands of people that show that blood donors or people who give blood will 100% of the time, you know, in those big studies end up having a longer health span and lifespan. And the reason is they are getting rid of that toxic unbound iron. So if you've never considered giving blood before, I mean, a lot of people are just doing it for their civic duty and really haven't probably considered the impact on their own health. And certainly I know for me and for many of my clients, I didn't see my biggest shifts until I started to donate blood.
Me too.
Yeah, you too. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. What did you notice when you started to give blood on top of what you were doing?
My eyes cleared up. Like they've still, you probably can't see it, but my eyes were extremely inflamed and they got really bad after about 2 years into eating a plant-based diet. And I started like going down all the paths and, you know, long story short, now on this beautiful journey of healing, when I started like dumping blood, giving blood, instantly. So within hours, I was high on life, which is expected when your hemoglobin levels are so high. So obviously everything's regulated. It's expected to feel good. I was on cloud 9, and I reckon it was not even 24 hours. And I looked in the mirror and thought, wow, the whites of my eyes were so clear. So to me, like, I love sclerology and iridology. So it's always like such a passion of mine to look into the eyes and to see that. Yeah, I was
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. And it's a story that I hear a lot from clients is, you know, they do a bit of preparation for their bodies because, of course, when you give blood, you're also giving away a lot of good things. So we need to be really mindful of our electrolytes and whole food vitamin C and other nutrients that we need to really boost our bodies beforehand. But I will regularly get calls from clients who'll say, I literally had not even walked out of the centre and it's like, you know, a fog had lifted from giving blood. Like they're quite amazed at the, you know, how instant getting rid of that toxic unbound iron that is in our tissue can be. Yeah.
Causing all kinds of dysfunction. Now I just checked the time and I think we're at our limit. Oh my goodness, I could keep raving. Oh my goodness. So my family who are watching this, my tribe, if you have, or Amy's tribe, if you have questions and you want us to discuss more, please comment or reach out to either of us, because like I would be honored to actually have another discussion with you, Amy. Like I didn't realize.
Yeah, I would love to.
I didn't realize how much, well, I did, but I didn't, how much we
it's so huge. And I think, okay, if people could have listened this far, and if you've listened this far, thank you. But if you have listened this far, I think the takeaways to remember are this: we have enough iron in our bodies. We have enough iron. It is not, iron is, I like this analogy of Morley, so I'm gonna use it. Iron is like the waiter, okay, that delivers the oxygen, but copper is the chef. Copper is the chef that is activating that oxygen and making it be able to be energy. So it's not about the iron, it is about the copper. And that's, I guess, probably a whole nother story. So we have enough iron within us. If it is not showing up in your blood, it is not because you are low in iron. If it is not showing up in your blood, it is in your tissue.
Yeah.
If it is in your tissue, it is causing you health issues and symptoms, which you are probably noticing, hence you going off to have a blood test in the first place. So steer clear of iron supplements, steer clear of iron enriched food. That's a whole nother minefield that we didn't speak about, but flip your packets. If it's got iron as an ingredient on the back, just put it back on the shelf. We don't need it.
What I do. Oh, I love it. There was just like 5 topics right there and then that I would actually love to explore more with you, Amy, like iron-enriched foods, iron supplements, all of that. So let's make a date to really explore this, maybe even in the new year, and we can do like a whole series on this because it's such a big topic. And even with the amount of information I share, I still stumble across hundreds of thousands of women that are still really caught in that. And I'm sure you do too.
Absolutely. There, you know, and it's a you know, it's a bad place to be when you're relying on iron supplementation. And I'm guessing that, you know, for most women, they're seeing that it's not fixing the problem. That's why they end up with me in the first place, because if taking more iron was the answer, we wouldn't be tired. You know, we've all been there and tried that, and there is a better way, and there is definitely a healthier way to, you know, increase your iron, and it's not by taking iron.
Totally hear you. So yes, I love it. Thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your wisdom. I am sure so many people are going to get a lot out of this. I really appreciate your time, and really look forward to more chats.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate having the opportunity just to have a platform to talk about this stuff, because it's so damn important, and it needs to be more widely known. So thank you.